Okay, so first question is, what inspired you to follow your heart and pursue the path of full-time?
I think for me, I have actually always loved running, loved triathlon. Well, I say I love triathlon. I got into cycling in lockdown. For me, it offers a lot more than just exercise. It proves to me that you can do more than you think is possible. In terms of pursuing it pretty much full time, I think once that seed is planted in your head, I started thinking about it maybe about 6 months ago, because I was trying to do a lot alongside a full-time job. And once you've kind of planted that seed in your head, for me, I got to a point with work where I realized like I didn't want to look back sort of 30 years down the line or 20 years down the line and think, oh, I could have done this, I could have done that. I'm kind of in my 20s. I do truly love the sport to bits, and for me, I definitely just wanted to see what I could do when I poured my all into it, because I've got this far having never taken it on as a full-time pursuit. I've always kind of run alongside studying, run alongside work, and a part of me thinks it's fascinating to see what the human body can do and what my full potential is. I got to a point where I was working full time and I realized I'm never going to see that full potential if I keep trying to do two things half-heartedly. You can only really do one thing with all your full intent well, and I wanted to see what I could do. So yeah.
So training twice a day and juggling a job as well, what's been some of your toughest for you?
Yeah, at the moment I'm still working. I'm working until June. So at the end of June, I'm going to be leaving teaching. So I do train twice a day alongside work. I think for me the struggle is, especially in this climate, the struggle is recovery between sessions. It's also making time for everything. You've got to realize that you can't do everything under the sun. And I think in your 20s, you kind of want to do everything. You're like, I want to go out all the time, and I also want to do really well at work, and I want to do really well in my sport. And I think a challenge for me is the mental kind of the mindset and working out what it is that I want. So keeping a vision clear when you're working and you're also training, and there are competing interests there. For me, I found it challenging to work out what I truly want and what it is that's my calling. And so keeping that vision clear and like keeping my why, I often get a bit distracted when you have a full-time job there. So for me, I think really next year, or in about 6 months' time, I'll be able to fully just commit to, okay, this is what I'm doing, and it minimizes the distractions.
Yeah, speaking about your why, right? Like at times when you feel like you can't like keep going anymore, like where do you pull your strength?
Yeah, for me, there's quite a few different areas. Like one, I've spoken about this before to people, but like the people I grew up training around are exceptional athletes. And at uni, I trained with some athletes that I mentioned they've run for GB, they've run for England. One of them's run for Ireland, and you know, I've had friends in the competing in the Tokyo Olympics. I trained with them. So for me, one thing that really inspires me is having trained with people and seeing where they've been able to take it, being surrounded by them, feeling as though I've got the same potential as them, makes me feel I have more to look forward to, and there is more inside of me. And I really do think that everybody, like nobody actually has the limits they think they do. I think training around people that have been very successful, to me, has shown me that you are a lot stronger than you think you are. And I'm fascinated by kind of the actual potentially unlimited bounds of human performance. A lot of it is mental. And so, yeah, when it's tough, your brain will quit first. So yeah, you've got to be pretty mentally strong as well. In the toughest of sessions, it's knowing how good you could be, that and having that vision of what your goals are, that really helps. But also I think, I mean, I'm actually quite religious, so I think that when you feel as though, okay, like there's whatever religion you might be, like, you know, I've got faith that there's other things here, and like you can do supernatural things, you can with the power of whatever you believe in. Like, I think for me, I have faith that I can do amazing things, and that I'm not alone in that. And so a lot of it is mental. I think, you know, I'd say about 90% mental, and then the rest, obviously, you've got to put in the work. But yeah.
How do you think endurance sports like triathlon can help you self-confidence?
I think the fascinating thing about endurance sport is that everybody who starts it, I mean, was always at a point where they couldn't do that. They could not do that. And it's a sport that proves to yourself that what you once thought was not possible is really possible. And even in like the smallest of sessions, like you could be doing like 10 hill reps and you get to hill rep number 2 and it's like, oh, I still have 8 of these to go. And you're just like, oh, can I do it? And you find your own ways of getting through that session. Like I said, it's mental. A lot of it's mental, and you find your ways to get through. And then when you get to the end of those 10 reps, you're like, whew, didn't think I could do that. And I think that in itself is just a little nugget of like, oh, I can do pretty good things. And that can transcend into other areas of life after that. Once you've proven to yourself physically you can do a lot of things, it then transcends, like you go into, I don't know, things that you were daunted by, and you think, look, you can get beyond that. I think it also teaches you a lot about time and the passing of time. There's a lot to this sport. I mean, there's loads to this sport, but I think it teaches you about the passing of time. Like, that time is going to pass. You know, you're running, and I think especially with the long distance pursuits, like people that are doing like T100 or like the long, like 70.3s, that time's going to pass. Just keep moving. Like, it's kind of like a one step in front of the other. And I think that for self-confidence for people, like when you go into the wilder areas of life, you think, oh, whatever it might be, like I've got this meeting or this social event or whatever, and if you're daunted by it, you're like, oh, this time is going to pass. You can get through things.
You said that you started triathlon 6 months ago, right?
I started, to be honest, I only really fully took it up in 2024. I did my first few races on the bike in 2024, and I've always kind of like dabbled in like cycling and things, but yeah, I only really took it on fully in 2024.
For someone who's like truly embarking on that journey now, how important are beginner-friendly races like MetaSprint to encourage others to pick up triathlon?
To encourage others, I think those are fantastic. The community aspect of this sport is huge. Like, people think it's an individual sport, and it's really not. I think one big game changer for me, I actually tried triathlon before lockdown, or during lockdown, and then I got to a point where I was like, oh, I don't think it's for me. I was training a lot on my own. I came to Singapore and I started training out here, and for me, I think the community is a huge part of what makes me get after it. Like, it's the cycling community is amazing, the swim community is amazing. So things like the MetaSprint, they build more of a community, and I think they are fantastic for getting people into triathlon. I mean, it doesn't matter how good or bad you are, you're going to have a great weekend when you go out there. They do an amazing job of just building the excitement for that race. It's, you know, everybody has a good time, it's manageable, you dip your toes in the sport, and I think people need that first experience. So you go out, you do it, and it's that like crossing the finish line feeling is fantastic. And you do your first small races, you build up. Like, it doesn't have to be a big jump, but you build up, and eventually it's like, oh, I look back and I'm like, I could never have envisaged. Like, for me, when I was training for like longer distance stuff, you know, I was doing like 160k rides every Saturday. I still do, like, you know, we ride for about 4 or 5 hours every Saturday. We'll do 160k, 175. And if you said that to me like a year and a half ago, I would have been like, what? But you know, you build up incrementally, and then you look back and you think, I had no idea that I would get to this point. And I think that's the beauty of something like MetaSprint, is that they introduce people to that. You experience all the transition stuff, you experience the joy of the race, just how amazing it is and exciting. meet people at the event, you know, stuff like that. It's just about building a community, and I think it's a really key aspect of getting into the sport.
How did your training sessions change when you made the transition to multi-sport?
Yeah, actually, interestingly, I was a runner that was always slightly injury prone, so I did do a little bit of swimming, but I didn't really need to take it seriously. And I did a little bit of cycling, but didn't really take it seriously. And now, obviously, I now train runs, swims, and cycles. Yeah, it's ramped up, and it's, interestingly enough, for people who are looking to get into triathlon, it's actually, I do a lot more hours than I ever did running, but I think it is actually more manageable because you're varying the sport in terms of how taxing it is on the body. It's really not. I think I would feel more under recovered as a runner than I've ever done as a triathlete, because you can swim and you can run a hard track session in the same day and they're working different muscles, whereas you try to run twice a day for like the majority of your week and you will feel it. If there's people wanting to get into triathlon, I'd actually say it seems like it's more work, but actually compared to, maybe I was taking running a little bit more seriously than your everyday jogger, but compared to just solely focusing on one pursuit, I've actually found it more, it helps me more from an injury point of view. So more manageable, interestingly enough, even though the hours have gone up.
And what is some of your favorite moments in triathlon journey so far?
In terms of the training, for me, like I spoke about, community is everything. So I absolutely love the swim squad I'm part of. Cos Swim Squad in the morning, like Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings. It's the people I wake up to, and I know, I'm up at 5:15 and I know that I'm getting to a pool where I know who I'm going to be with. They're good people. It's the community. Same with my cycling group. It's the community that I think make the training really memorable. And they're people that have big goals. They take themselves seriously, but they're also quite entertaining. They know how to have a laugh. You've got to find that balance. And then in terms of just general, over the course of the year, I think one of the standouts for me, triathlon wise and things, I actually went to the Laguna Piquet triathlon, but I was a little bit injured, so I actually did two, and I didn't two of the 3 legs. I swam, I biked, and I couldn't run, which was really gutting, but I went out, and I think a really memorable thing for me, which has, it's one of those stepping stones that shows you what you can do, is that I cycled the bike course, and I was really proud to basically beat 3 pros on the bike course. So I was like, oh, I can do this thing. So I think that for me has been a really memorable moment.
What are your top 3 tips you would give to anyone wanting to pick up triathlon?
I think number 1 is start small and don't get overwhelmed. It's very easy to jump into triathlon and think, oh my God, how am I ever going to do this? So like I spoke about, start small, because it's not as overwhelming as you think. I think number 2 is surround yourself with like-minded people and a great community of people. And there is definitely that in Singapore. There's an amazing triathlon community in Singapore, whether it's there's a women's tri club, whether it's good cycling groups, there's fantastic run clubs. Definitely find a good community, because there are great people out here in Singapore doing triathlon, and they travel to races together. They at 70.3 Worlds, there was a big WhatsApp group of all the triathletes going. They're good people, and you don't have to be amazing. There's still, people just getting into it. So community. And then the third thing I think definitely is know your why, because like I say, it's not always easy. And also, you'll have moments where you're like, why the hell am I doing this? I don't want to do this anymore. And if you've got the right people around you, and you know your why, it helps, I think, a lot. So yeah, those would be my 3.
What are your biggest goals in 2020?
At the moment, it's definitely short course triathlon. I'm gonna aim for triathlon, hopefully at the SEA Games at the end of the year. And I'm also, coming from a background in running, going to really push and develop my 5K run speed. The hope is to take on some track races in April, and then 5K in May as well. Potentially see what I can do on the roads on the 10K as well. But for me, it's triathlon, so I'm really, really working on my swim. Triathlon, short course, potentially duathlon, but 5K running as well. And that's kind of my 2025 has SEA Games definitely as one of the big aims. Beyond that, I might move into 70.3s and that sort of thing when I'm beyond this year, but who knows? We'll have to watch this space.
Okay, last one. How do you think participating in MetaSprint Series can help with preparations for major races like T100?
I think the MetaSprint gives you all the simulations that you need to be adequately prepared for things like the transition in the T100, for the atmosphere you're going to experience, for the race day morning, for how you're going to start. It gives you everything you need to know what the key moments in the T100 are going to be like. Obviously, granted, it's a much shorter race, but I've always learned in training that you need that race day feeling and practice. And actually training, whether it's runs or triathlons, when you compete, you actually have, you have your A race, which could be T100, then you've got your B, C races that need to gear you up for it. And so actually things like the MetaSprint series are really nicely placed to scrub up on all of those disciplines. So you could do the aquathlon and then the duathlon and then the triathlon, and then you prepped for T100 and it's perfect. So I think it's the perfect simulation, yeah.